Grizzlies tonight, and they are favored, Jason, in this game by it was just 1 point earlier. Still sticks to a point. It's a very good, very frustrating team to play. They're very well coached.
Mm-hmm.
They talk a lot. That they're not it's not like the entire team plays wonderful defense, but their team defense I've always thought is very impressive. They're very vocal on defense, and I appreciate that. There's a lot of talking, and to me, it all starts and ends with a guy that generally doesn't start. Brandon Clark is one of the most communicative defensive players I've ever seen in my life. Steven Adams always seems, I think he averages like 15 and 30 against us career. And unlike games past, they're fairly healthy.
Yeah.
Bain's
missed the Kings games last couple.
Yes, this is a full strength Memphis team, and if I'm being non-biased, Jason, I think that 1 point is a little low.
Well, and that's the thing when look, what the Kings have done right now is given us the ability to kind of look forward and think, man, if this team were to make the playoffs, who would you want them to play?
Yeah.
I would not put Memphis that high on the list. It's about matchups. Now, could the Kings crack the code? Maybe. But Memphis is an experienced team, though young, but also they're really physical and they're big.
Yep.
And I think that's the exact kind of team that has bothered the Kings. They have bothered the Kings, and they've bothered them even when they're not fully healthy. So you put in the dynamic scoring of Ja and Desmond Bane, maybe the defensive player of the year in Jaren Jackson Jr. What Steven Adams does is just a nuisance to the paint and makes it harder for Sabonis. Clark, to your point, off the bench. Dylan Brooks is the professional agitator.
Yes.
And then they've got those guys you go on the bench. Who are these guys? Well, they all fit. It's all part of the puzzle that when you've got all the other pieces, all those guys look much, much better. So they're good. This would be a really good win if the Kings could win this one.
Tyus Jones, Brandon
Clark. Great backup point guard.
Yeah, they have that bench, like you said, that just does what they're supposed to do. And when you look, I think that stylistically, you could make an argument that probably, Boston and Milwaukee, but they're also fantastic teams. And these are really good teams. Memphis' style just, like, I've said this once before this year, and I was wrong, so I hope I'm wrong again. I think the Kings get whopped tonight. And the only time I've said that this year was that was a road game against Cleveland.
Yeah.
And because of the matchups on paper. Now, granted, the Grizzlies had a tough loss to the Suns last night. That was an emotional game. They lost by 2. It was a pretty darn entertaining game. That's why I think it's at 1 point. But you're on the road. And who is it that says that generally it's easier to win it back on the road sometimes than it is at home? This is going to be a very tough matchup for the Kings. They're going to have to figure out what they could. You want to talk about a bad time to not really have your backup big set. You got Jaren Jackson.
Mm-hmm.
It's Steven Adams down low. Jaren Jackson's having an insanely good year. He's in line to probably be, if he's not all defense first team, he's going to be all defense second team. Imagine driving the lane and running into Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams.
Yeah. No, I think this is you kind of go across the board. Most nights, De'Aaron's going to win the point guard matchup.
Yep.
He might tonight. He might, but it's not going to blow away Ja Morant. Like, it's going to be what if not in favor of Ja Morant. Sabonis usually controls the paint. He's going to have his challenges there. Then you're going to need, Barnes to be great and Murray, and they're all capable. Herter, but it's asking a lot of your other guys that can do it, have done it.
Right.
But Memphis is as tough of a matchup I think the Kings have.
And it's not just like you said when you break it down, starter by starter, bench by bench, where the Grizzlies have the Kings. But then you go into the intangibles.
Yeah.
Not only this is a playoff tested team, this is a team with great veteran leadership. And I'll say it, and I mean this as no disrespect, they're tougher than the Kings. Not tougher than every King, but I don't think anybody looks at the roster of Memphis and anybody looks at the roster of Sacramento and says they're tougher and looks at the Kings. Yeah. Memphis, as you said before, they're agitators, but they're that type of tough, that grit and grind, that agitation. I know people don't want to hear this, but I worry sometimes about the Kings getting punched in the mouth and what they're going to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Domantas Sabonis is tough. That guy gets beaten on every single game. I'm not talking about heart. I'm talking about when the Grizzlies start barking and woofing and getting in your face and doing a little extra down low. I mean, we saw what Malik Monk did the other night, but I just don't know. I don't think that's an arrow in the